I want to just share what is this initiative and what it's about. The founding premise of Ubuntu Network is that all the Goliaths confronting humanity are beyond what any government, any NGO, any entity on earth can do. So it's important that we come to that realization that we cannot place our hope on institutions to deal with our problems. And so the second premise on Ubuntu Network is what is required to deal with these Goliaths is an army of ordinary people equipped with love for their neighbor, who are living their lives in an ordinary way, Ubuntu way. So Ubuntu Kithi network is very much in its inception, and it is member-owned, member-driven, non-profit community of practice. So it is essentially a community of practice with a purpose of reigniting, refining, and effectuating Ubuntu's practices in all spheres of our society. And I believe that this way it unleashes an army of people who love their neighbor. There's about 8 billion people in the world, and I believe that there's about 2 billion followers of Christ. So imagine, and this is how I conclude my book, that imagine if even 50% of the followers of Christ would live out as vessels of glory. And imagine those that are impacted by them impacting others. It wouldn't even take a generation to impact the lives of people positively. So I believe that the only way to deal with our current realities, to deal with the systematic poverty, socioeconomic injustice, is not through these huge institutions that take lots of money, but it is through ordinary people like you and me loving our neighbor. And this is what Ubuntu Kithi network is about. So we bring people to the fireplace so that we can equip one another. And so there's 4 pillars to Ubuntu network, and then we will close. The first is Ignite. And Ignite is really about, it's a kind of training, but not a traditional training, a simulation training that anyone who wants to be part of this journey can then can take so that they can appreciate and learn what this is about. And then the second element is research. So this is us as the community of practice, finding best practice, experimenting, and action testing some of the best practices. So whilst we recognize that there are certain ancient practices in Africa that were very effective, we need to recognize that times have changed. And so we need to continuously evolve what it means and what it looks like to live Ubuntu way. So this pillar is going to be about this community of practice, surfacing and testing out practices. The third pillar is Ubuntu Life. So this is really now the platform where the community of practice, anyone who is a member or a participant can participate in projects that are available, that are affiliated to Ubuntu Kithi network. And so it's going to be a platform where people can volunteer, can participate. So we are not trying to reinvent anything, but we are trying to ensure that people who say, I want to live Ubuntu way, have a place. So any projects that currently running that then we establish a relationship with, people can then use those projects as a place where they serve and practice Ubuntu. The last pillar is really perhaps my favorite because it's about advocating for Ubuntu way. So Ubuntu media, so using social media, using mainstream media, and using big media to start to promote what it means to live Ubuntu. And this will be sharing practices that we have tested and we know that work, and we start to sell them to make a case for them in the public square. So that's what Ubuntu Community of Practice is about. And I just want to conclude by a call to action. So 2 call to actions for you. 1, you can purchase the book at uvezi.com. All the links are there. I've also dropped a message on the message board. So if you want to get the book, you can go there. You can also drop me a mail on Vezi at uvezi.com, and I dropped the link at the chat box. And if you want a physical copy, it's also available through Take a Lot. And then the last thing is, from next month, we'll be inviting everyone that registered on this webinar. We will be inviting you to Ubuntu Conversations. So this will not be a webinar, it will be a conversation. So we will be inviting you to share. So starting to have these conversations about how can we live in our busy lives, in our demanding lives, how can we incorporate practical ways of living Ubuntu way? So that's what Ubuntu Kithi Network is about. And I will then hand over back to Dumile to close.
Oh, wow, Vezi, that is absolutely awesome. Not only a book that we are absolutely enjoying and we're going to continue to enjoy, but Vezi, I think I just want to say I'm really privileged to know a thought leader like yourself, because it's one thing for us to read a book, put it down and forget about it. It's another thing for us to begin to mobilize ourselves, to begin to probably, I think Ubuntu Kithi is going to be that institution that you've always dreamt of, Vezi, in terms of making systematic impacts and changes, as Carlos spoke about in our world. So, ladies and gentlemen, please, let's not be armchair activists, as Lindy would put it, where we talk a lot, we are convicted, but we do little. So let's stay connected with each other, because I really do believe that we are the change agents that we've been waiting for, and we will have to make the changes. As Vezi said, we will communicate with you further in terms of the results of the poll and perhaps any questions that we pick up. But I think with those few words, it's been an absolute pleasure for me to spend this evening with yourselves. I'm sorry about running over time. I think the number of just esteemed participants that we had on board, it wasn't going to be practical, Vezi. This is Africa. It wasn't going to be practical to do it in an hour. One thing that we have plenty of, though, is time. So thank God for that resource. But I just want to say, if you desire God's kingdom really come in this earth, in Africa, you really need to stay connected to this company.